my experience, or over the last 20 years, y'all have kind of taken over the wine connoisseur.
It's funny you say that. Yeah, absolutely. I sometimes get laughed at a little bit, but I truly believe this, and there's more and more people that I think they're coming around to it.
Mm-hmm.
There are so many ways to make a beer.
Mm-hmm.
That you can pair it with pretty much anything that you want. Again, I said those 4 ingredients are what make beer, but the nice part about it is, there's about a gajillion types of hops and malts and yeast that you can combine and make different flavor profiles. If you wanted something that tasted like a pineapple juice, you could do that with just the hops and the yeast and the malt. If you wanted something that tasted super bittery and piney, same thing. It just depends on what that combination that you're using. And that's really what the science mixes with the art of brewing. Our brewing staff is incredible. They do such a great job working with what the ingredients they have to kind of create a flavor profile and let us go with it. But all that to be said is that there's so many different ingredients that you can, or so many different ways that you can use these ingredients. You can pair this with anything. So, look, I like wine. I'm not a huge wine fan, but, I'm not a wine snob. You can't tell me the difference between a Caymus Canutt and a 2-buck chuck.
That's right.
It's going to be harder for me to do that, whereas opposed to giving me a Blood Orange India Pale Ale and a regular India Pale, I'm going to be able to tell the difference between those two. The price points are usually a lot lower to entry for a lot of people too. And again, you can do a lot of different varieties. So if you open up a bottle of wine, you're pretty much relegated to share that with 3 or 4 people until you open another bottle of wine,
right,
et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But you can get a 6-pack. You can get, a case of beer, all 4 different types, and let people mix and match the way they want to. So it really started to the elevation of beer really kind of is a nice trend, and people have started to really think about that more in a more evolved setting, pairing it again with some great food, some great chefs. We've done some pairings with some fantastic chefs here locally and nationally with our beers to make some really kind of cool combinations with that too.
No, that's incredible. Well, we've got 2 more beers.
Yes.
Dr. Robot. So talk to me about Dr. Robot.
Dr. Robot, yes. Actually, so this is something that's totally interesting to a lot of folks too. Talked about wine. This is going to be something that I think that appeals to a lot of wine drinkers too. It's a blackberry lemon sour ale. And so sour ale means that we're using a different type of yeast than what you'd normally expect, and it creates a tartness to it.
Okay.
I always say when people want to talk to or drink a sour ale, just forget that it's a beer. Drink it and see how you like it, because when you have a preconceived notion about what a beer is supposed to taste like, this is not a sour beer is going to really kind of jolt you. But again, super light drinker. It pours pink. It's a beautiful, nice hue. Easy, light. I believe it's 4.7% ABV, so it's a good pool beer. Very low in alcohol. So yeah, super nice, light, crushable beer. Actually, one of our best sellers that we have out there in the market.
Very good. And it's not too sour.
It's not. No,
Yeah.
You can raise. Yeah, it's not. There's some sours that'll take the enamel off your teeth. This one's fine. This one usually won't work. But again, it's all dependent on what someone's palate is. If they, whatever the tolerance level is.
No, but I like the way you say, when you drink the Dr. Robot, don't think I'm drinking a beer.
Exactly.
This is a refreshing drink.
And that's the way I kind of would like people to kind of go when it comes to a beer, because I think everyone comes with a preconceived notion of beer. We've all seen our dads and our parents drink it. We've all been to college and done the whole thing. When you're going into craft beer, just kind of leave your preconceived notions at the door. Try to feel what beer is and see what you enjoy and see what you don't. We've got, like I said, in our tap room, we train our staff to really ramp up their experience, the customer experience. If someone comes in that doesn't know or has never been to a beer or never had craft beer before, they will try to follow them through and give them some ideas of what they like and what they don't like. So we really try to convert people into fans, even when a lot of them come in and say, well, I don't drink beer. What do you guys have?
That's right.
That happens quite a bit, yeah.
Yeah, and I'm sure. But what's great about Monday Night Brewing is y'all have so many options.
Yes.
That, it's not just an IPA or just a strong stout.
One of my jobs is basically categorizing and organizing and making sure that all of the beers that we make are correctly inputted in our systems and making sure that it's at market and marketed correctly online and those types of things. I counted last year we made over 100 beers.
Really?
Yes, and we're probably on pace to do that again this year.
And they're all bottled?
No, not all of them are bottled. So The nice thing about having 2 tap rooms is that, again, it allows us to do a lot of R&D. We have some smaller tanks that we brew with.
Okay.
And what we can do then is we've got an idea, if we've got a wild hair, if we get a hop sample in that we've never had before, we want to try it out. We've only got like maybe a pound of it. We can't use much of it. We'll brew a small batch beer, put it on the tap room, see what people like about it. And so we're able to kind of do that quite often. It gives us a lot more flexibility. We have 28 taps and at our 16 taps at our original location. We also have 20 taps at our garage location, so it allows us a lot of flexibility. We'll have 30 in Birmingham, so we'll be brewing a lot of different types of beers to keep those taps full.
No, well, like you were saying on the R&D, and what's nice is folks can go down there and try different beer.
Sure.
So that kind of that changed the experience week to week.
And it does, and we'll always have something new on board. For example, the Lundy that we talked about before, that was an object or direct result of the R&D that we had. We went through about maybe 6 or 7 different variations of the recipe, tweaking it, figuring out what worked, what didn't, taking consumer feedback, doing tasting panels from our experts, figuring out what worked and what didn't. And so we were able to do that as a result of the small batch pilot system we had. To research to figure out what worked and went with it. So
no, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, so we've got the last one, which is the
Drafty Kilt.
Drafty Kilt.
Yes.
I love the names.
This one actually has no help from R&D. This is an original. This is the only original homebrew recipe that we still make.
So this was a homebrew beer.
This is a creation of Jeff, our CEO. He actually created this recipe, and it's stuck with us. Again, it's the last one. We started with 3 beers when we first started out, and now this is the only one that we have left that's still the OG. So Scotch ale, which means a little bit darker, a lot more maltier, a lot more. It has a little bit of sweetness to it. Scotch ales typically are a little bit more on the smoky side because they use smoked peat malt for a traditional Scotch ale. So very similar to a whiskey type of a flavor, Scotch whiskey. So what we did with this one, instead of using peat, we used cherrywood smoked malt. So it has a little bit of that sweetness to it, residual sweetness to it. It's a slow and steady seller for us. And again, in a world where everyone is making IPAs and sours and those types of things, sometimes darker beers kind of get tossed to the wayside, and this one just keeps plugging away. And it's a great beer. I just had one last night actually. So it's and we can do a lot of cool things with it. We put this in bourbon barrels, aged it for a while, and came up with bourbon barrel aged Drafty Kilt, which gives it a little bit more of that oomph to it. We actually won a gold medal at the Great American Beer Fest several years ago with that beer. We'll do different types of things as well. We're coming out with tiramisu Drafty Kilt later on this year or next year in 2020, so that we kind of put some coffee into it and made some tiramisu flavors. So it imparts, it does a really nice job working well with a lot of different types of flavors that we can kind of have fun with it.